Hey everybody, Denver Dano here. Just wanted to do another video to show you quickly how I tend to run Boss Horde dungeons with high Anguish using a chain shield build with Realmshifter Dorado. So just to start, I am going to swap out my Phoenix for Steward Golem. Basically just want anything that's going to help me build up some ward turns and keep my ward balance out. And then I'm going to jump into a dungeon. I have not turned on any Anguish yet, because I'm going to go through just a buffing phase first. And if I wanted to do a big run, I would go through this process for 5 dungeons at the same time, and then turn the Anguish on. So I think I've got, this is my buffing setup. It basically, I have as many items and accessories on as possible that can prevent me from getting any kind of debuffs or dots as I'm going through this. So if we jump into the dungeon, I'm going to start by whittling down all the enemies so there's just one left, so I don't have to wait through all their turns. And then I'm going to apply the defensive buffs, so Barrier 2 and Golem's Fortitude. Also going to use Bear's Might. I use Warcry. You can use Attack Potion. I prefer to just use Warcry so that I'm kind of saving my attack potions for other situations. I like to use Speed Potion for Dexterity buff. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Divine Bastion as well. And give that a few turns. And like I said, if I was doing this over 4 or 5 dungeons, I would just go and repeat that same process for all of them. Okay. So now I'm going to exit out of the dungeon, and I am going to go turn Anguish on. There's some players who are doing this at like Anguish 50. I've been running it at 42, and that kind of works for me. I could probably stand to go a little bit higher if I really wanted to, but I prefer to just kind of keep it comfortable, to be honest, not have to worry too much about getting killed. So this is my chain shield build, and basically with this, you just want to have as much ward as possible. And it's going to be really important to have a spiked great shield, because I think that gives a bit of a damage bonus when you're using chain shield. But I've got the pumpkinless leggings, the face shooter's cuirass, and Avalon helmet. All those are kind of high ward items. The amity that I've got, it just helps to regain a bit of mana each turn so that I can kind of carry on throughout the dungeon without needing to replenish any of it. And I've just spotted actually my axe at the moment has the dragon enchantment on it. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to remove that enchantment. And while I'm doing this, I will show you the augments that I have on my celestial axe as well. Cool. So it's mostly got Feet of Prometheus, which are gonna give me a bit of additional ward back every turn, and I've also got one set of Shoulders of Prometheus, which give you the highest ward bonus, I think, of any of the augments that are available. I can get away with having so many feet because I'm relatively high ascension level, and so the damage that I'm doing is sufficient. So I'd rather be getting a bit of ward back each turn. If you're using this and you're finding you're struggling to get the damage that you need to basically kill mobs in a single attack, then you would maybe want to add in another set or 2 of shoulders just to get that up to what you need. Worth mentioning, I think I am Ascension, what is it? Ascension 64. So, and in terms of the spec that I'm using for this one, I'm going to use the Disciple of Finesse, because that, as you're killing mobs, it gives you additional turns, so it just helps to speed everything up. If you don't have that spec, I would recommend using the Cataphract, just because that's going to, again, help you keep your ward balance high. So now that's all set up, I want to get my ward balance back up again. And then I also am going to use Quad Edge a couple times just to reduce my health down. Usually, if I was doing a ton of these, I would hard close the app out after I've done that, just to remove the Quad Edge from that row of skills up on the top and make sure I don't accidentally hit that. Because if I touch it again and it doesn't kill the last mob on the floor, then obviously I'll die and that'll be the end of the run. So now that I've got all my buffs up and everything, it's basically just a matter of chain shield all the way through. And you can see it's killing 1 or 2 mobs on each attack. And between the avidity passive that Dorado has and the parting remark passive that the Disciple of Finesse has, it goes through pretty quickly. And that's basically it, I would say. Every once in a while, if you run into a Berserk Realmshifter, that can be a little bit challenging to get around. And then you might want to think about using a different skill or a different setup just to kill that one off, and then come back and carry on using Chain Shield again. And you can see with this setup, I'm clearing these pretty quickly now. So if you got 4 or 5 of these set up, I've timed out, I think after the buff phase, it usually takes me about between 2.5 and 3.5 minutes to clear a dungeon. It's probably a minute each for the buffing phase. So you're looking at about 4 or 5 minutes in total per dungeon, maybe a little bit less using this method. So I would definitely recommend it. If you were to try this and you found that it's a little bit too difficult, then try turning the Anguish level down, I would say. Equally, if you try this and actually it's going great, you're not having any trouble, you can try putting the Anguish level up, try and gain a few more proofs that way. But that's pretty much it. So I hope that's useful, and as always, if you have any questions, give me a shout.